Hi, Thaliday. Okay, first of all, yes, there is some semantics, but it isn't just semantics. We do have some disagreements. I don't believe we want very different things, or even have it. I think we're probably very much on the same page as to what we could do to improve this system, though we haven't talked about the actual numbers. There is some semantics. You could say that the unskilled labor thing was semantics, but really to me that's just a framing thing. It doesn't matter if we're just calling it unskilled labor. I like to point out, these people are skilled. They're skilled as humans compared to other animals, and that's important. Why is it important? Well, because we actually do use animals for labor. And no, they can't assemble toys in a Chinese factory. The biggest semantic thing is really the free market thing. People are confused. When I look at a word like free market, I look at the word market and I look at the word free. I look at the word free and I see that nothing is absolutely free, just like nothing's absolute anyway. So the idea that, people have that anarchy, for example, the state of nature is an embodiment of free market. Well, no, because there is no market in that case. A market requires regulation, a place to do the trading, standards for what a quality product is. And if you get those standards good enough, you can sell and buy and sell products in a futures market before the product is even provided. And you're making bets on how good the yield is going to be for that season and whatnot, because you're promising to buy it at a certain quality, a certain price. If there's a shortage, it'll be a higher price. If there's a glut, then you'll get a lower price, or vice versa, whichever. Now, in terms of what is broken in the system, and this is where our disagreement actually comes down, there's a lot of things I think are broken. I'm not a fan of hierarchical organizations in society, and party systems I believe are inherently corrupt, and so on and so forth. But I was much more focused and would like to keep it focused. What is broken is that the money goes in one direction. The wealthy get wealthier, and the poor get poorer. That is the problem. That's the constraint that is being violated. We need a system where the wealthy have to put their value back into the system. Now, some people have come back to me and said, oh, well, when you put your savings in an interest-bearing account, it's being loaned out, so it's working. No, that's not true. When I put my money in a retirement account or a mutual fund, we're just trading stocks. That's a financial investment. It's not an economic investment. It doesn't help the economy that you have given me a share of AT&T stock. AT&T doesn't get any of that money, so they can't invest with it. Okay. That kind of investment is not circulatory. Okay. When you have money markets or investments in bonds, those governments issuing those bonds can fail, but they tend not to, and that's the point. That's why the interest is lower, but it's still extant. Not all investments are the same. An investment in infrastructure, that's what we're trying to get out of this, so that our infrastructure improves, so that people can use the infrastructure. The trading of a share of a company from one person to another, that makes no actual difference to the system. It makes a difference to you if you're making money off of it, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but I'm saying that it's distinct from another kind of economic investment. Okay, so that's the constraint that's being violated. That's what I'm talking about in this series of what's broken. Okay, now we could always go on to a different conversation, but insofar as we're trying to figure out what this conversation is, that's what it's about. That's the broken part of the system. The money's going in one direction. Okay. There's other problems. I don't think our personal liberty is sufficient, and there's other problems that also have to be analyzed. Okay. But we're isolating certain parts of the problem so we can figure out what kinds of solutions, and we will integrate those with our other solutions and the other problems. Now, I pointed at currency because I think it's silly that we believe that one of the constraints is that money has to be the way money is right now. Now, even if we keep something like money as we have it right now, there's other ways to do what we currently use money for. For example, I had mentioned a barter bank. If you had as many users as eBay, you could do that with barter, right? You could say, here, I've got this many goods, and here's what I want. Here's the goods I have. Here's the goods I want. The inefficiency traditionally associated with barter can be eliminated, because with modern shipping, modern infrastructure, and modern computers, The computer could solve the complicated thing. So instead of having to make a deal with you, and then now I've got your pigs and you've got my chickens, but I don't want pigs, and I've got to find somebody that has milk because that's what I want, a computer could do that. If you had a bunch of people that listed what they had and what they want, the computer could solve that. And you just give the product that you have to the person that wants it, and the person that has your product sends it to you, and they get what they wanted from someone else. Tremendously complicated arrangements like that could be solved in, milliseconds. Okay, now, I do say that we need to start over. I am saying the system's broken. We need to change things like currency or use something besides currency to do certain amounts of trading. And I think if we could do that, we could get out of the problem of trying to elect people that'll confiscate the right thing from the right people. I'd rather not do that. That's arbitrary. I don't trust that. Even if it can work for a person, even if you can train your politicians such that they make good decisions, I think that's limited. I think that'll run out. It's not safe against corruption. It's not robust. It doesn't satisfy a constraint of being sort of a natural system. It requires the arbitrary decision making by people you hope are benevolent and wise and have all the information. Okay, so I look at currency as something that I don't understand why people think that it's a constraint, that a currency, a concept, invented basically by absolute monarchs ages ago, needs to be one of the constraints. It can change. Now, how can it change? I'm open to that. I want to explore that. Okay. And maybe it shouldn't change at all, but then it should just have less of an overarching goal. I'd like a system where people could start to think about the goods that they want instead of just thinking, I want money, 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 money. I got all the goods I want, but I'm so used to wanting money that I just still want it. Okay. Now, in a software system, you give me any software system it has some sort of a problem. Oh, we lose transactions. I can help solve that. I could create another system designed to attach onto that to help mitigate the problems of that system. When in software do we say that that's not good enough? When do we as engineers say, well, as an engineer, I got to tell you the design is broken? I'll tell you when. It's when this little extra system, this kludge, starts to become grossly inefficient. And sometimes it can literally not be possible because maybe your computers aren't fast enough, or the system isn't fast enough, it doesn't respond fast enough. Whatever, inefficiency can create failure. But given enough time, you could see that, it could be made to work with this fix. But when it becomes too inefficient, we say, look, we need a new system. So I do kind of want to start over. But as an engineer and a fan of engineering, that doesn't mean just throw away everything that's happened so far. No, it means learn from your mistakes and successes. So the new system would definitely borrow things from the old system. So for example, there would be free markets. For example, there would definitely be tokens of currency. I said another idea. Maybe there's a way to have a currency that's not a fiat currency based on commodities. Instead of a gold standard, you have a commodity standard. Anything registered and treated as a commodity, could be the basis for that currency. And I don't know if that's the perfect idea or not, but what I do believe is that us being stuck on our current idea of currency created by absolute monarchs is a false constraint. We don't really need that. What we need is people to get fed and to have infrastructure built. Okay. So hopefully that clarifies some of it. So I think our real disagreement is, yes, how broke is the system? And I agree with you, some of the fixes that we should do, to the current system, especially in the U.S., because I'm more familiar with it. But, what can we do? The problem is the things that we can do don't solve the problem long term. Okay, I believe there's long term problems. We don't need a person with their own fiat to say, hey, we're going to confiscate this kind of money from them. And hopefully that person's wise and benevolent. No, I think that it's possible to design a system, that would work more naturally. For example, this barter bank idea, the advantage of that is that people with extra products want to get rid of them and get the things they actually need. The problem with money is you always need money, and then when you have all the products you need buying with the money, you're so habituated to getting money that it's natural just to want more and more and more and to feel a good positive about that. We could train people